Welcome to Making Sense of Masculine and Feminine Energetics. My name's Rebecca Grugan from Life by 8, and today I'm speaking into this really important topic that we work on our clients with to make sense of themselves and how that flow and why that's important in their everyday life. You may have heard of things like yin and yang energy, and you might have heard of masculine and feminine energetics before and how we all have this within ourselves. And so yin and yang it's the concept closely linked to masculine and feminine energies, and it originates from Chinese philosophy. Yin and yang describe how seemingly opposite forces and energies are interconnected and needed and dependent on each other in this natural world. They give rise to each other as they interrelate to one another and they go through this flow. Sometimes we may think that we just need one of them, but we actually need both, and we need that tension and the polarity between them to actually progress, to grow, to move forward, and to have that harmony and unity. So the yin represents the feminine energy, and it is associated with qualities such as receptivity, intuition, softness, and nurturing, and the passiveness in a good way. And it's also often symbolized by darkness, the moon, and the water, flow. And yang represents the masculine energy. It's associated with qualities such as doing things, activity, logic, strength, making decisions, and assertiveness. Yang is often symbolized by light, the sun, and fire, movement, doing things. So we have both of these within us. And so today I'm talking about masculine and feminine, but I also reference doing and being because sometimes this can be easier to understand when it comes to looking at yourself through this lens. So when we have all of these energy, so I talk about the four different ones, we've got light and dark feminine and light and dark masculine, and they play a different role in our lives. When we can make sense of where we might be at any given time, or in a relationship where we might tend to find ourselves being more often, it can really help us understand how to relate to people better, how to change our relationships in a great way, and or how to create more of that polarity and tension that can make an incredibly deep and beautiful life. So let's start on light feminine. So some of the positives in the light feminine space is sort of, we're playful and can see the highest potential in others and things around them. They have the ability to surrender and be receptive in this energetic type. They're a lot more nurturing and supportive of others and the people around them and the world around them. They want to be led. So they don't, in this energy, they don't want to be making decisions. They want to just say yes to people. They want to surrender and receive. And they also get really excited about the unknown, the adventure, because somebody else is taking that lead. In the negative of this energy, sometimes they don't know how to say no. So they're just saying yes to everything. And in turn, that means that they get trodden on and used. They can feel numb in this energy. They can sometimes stay in victim mode. They can utilize this and get distracted really easily because they're saying yes to everything. And that can also in turn mean that they also use this energy to avoid doing things. They can often feel controlled and taken advantage of. Some sort of characteristics or personalities that might fit into this light feminine in how it can be positive, but also the negatives of it. You've got things like Alice in Wonderland and Ariel and their naivety, but that flow and playfulness is there. You've also got characters like Rory Gilmore from Gilmore Girls and Paris Hilton, who's a celebrity for, I am not sure. However, those negative traits of the light feminine can be seen in some of the ways in which she presents herself to the world. So we then move into the dark feminine. And so the dark feminine in its positive states can be where creativity is birthed, where they're super aware of things and what they want and what's going on around them. They're very, very in tune with themselves. So their intuition is absolutely on point. They can create chaos and create movement to get people seeing things from different angles and different ways. They can be seductive in a beautiful, non-manipulative way. They can be spiritual, and this is where a lot of spiritual women and people who identify in this energy state can be. They usually get what they want, and they can take opportunity. They can see opportunity and they can go for it. Some of the negatives of this is they get away with a lot of things, and the world runs based off of that energy. Seductress, so they can actually seduce people around them and learn how to manipulate that to get what they want. They can be overwhelming with their emotions. It can feel like a roller coaster, and 1 minute they're super excited, 1 minute they want to kill people. It is absolutely a roller coaster. They can be controlling within that because they feel like if they have control, that they can predict things and that helps them get what they want. They can be emotionally manipulative, so they can just dump everything on you or on the people around them, and that can also be utilized against the other person from an abusive standpoint. And they really do, or are known to, cross boundaries emotionally often. And some other characters around that you may see this energy play out in is in things like Blair from Gossip Girl and Catwoman and Ursula from the Little Mermaid, and Gone Girl characters like these things, Regina from Mean Girls. These characters, some of them play out the positives of this, and though a lot of it is also in the dark parts of this, in the negatives of this energy. So we move into the light masculine, and so in the light masculine, this is where the people, caretakers. They're the white knight in shining armor. They can hold space for people. They're logical. They're patient, and really they're stable. You can predict what they say they're going to do is what they do. They are forgiving and consistent. They also really like order. In the negatives of this, though, people can use this energy to remain numb, and they overgive, so they're people pleasing. They're the nice guy, so in relationships they can be seen as quite boring. They're just trying all the time. They're never fully embodied in anything, and yeah, they sacrifice themselves for others, thinking that they use that to get love or to get attention. And so some characters that you may be aware of is things like Ross from Friends, Peter Pan in that sort of playful, boyish, sense to his character. Leonard from The Big Bang Theory, Justin Bieber and that energy he had when he first sort of started. It's things like this where people really get put in the friend, they get friend zoned or in the friend corner. This energy is one of those that can really affect a lot of men who may not be able to go down into their dark masculine. And so if I speak into the dark masculine, some of the greatness and in this energy are things like people who are assertive and able to lay down the law. They're ruthless in getting what they want, and primal in protecting the things and people around them. They are direct and straight to the point. They will take the lead, and they are unapologetic in doing so. When they say no, they mean it. They're efficient and get things done. However, there is a lot of the negatives that play out in this as well. So you can sort of in the negatives of this energy, they can do things that are super unexpected. They can go rogue. It's almost like you have no ability to understand what they're going to do next. Um, they problem solve, and sometimes they problem solve over the top of people, so they don't give anybody else the opportunity because they're over controlling. Their predatory behavior can be done here, things like rape and manipulation and getting what they want, but having to use that with power over others. It's where a lot of the bad boys sit. Sorry, girls. But we have the attraction to the bad boy mentality because a lot of the time the light feminine wants to receive, and the only place to sort of get that person who's willing to take the lead is in that dark masculine energy. And they cross a lot of boundaries physically and emotionally in this dark masculine energy. So some of the characters that you might be aware of is Old Mate from The Karate Kid, and Hitler, and Brad Pitt, his character from Fight Club. Things like this where they get what they want unapologetically and not in a healthy way. They hurt others in the process. So we have all of these, and the goal is for us to be able to flow in and out of these as we need them, and to know when to shift where we are and dependent on who we are. But you need it all. Many people get stuck in the being and they don't ever get anything done or ever get taken seriously, and then sometimes people get stuck in the doing and they burn out and they're avoiding the being. We need both. And so when you can understand what polarity is, the positive side of one energy attracts the negative side of the other energy, and vice versa. So the energy will then attract each other because the charges which are closest together are opposite in sign. So I'm going to show you what polarity means in the next couple of slides. But it refers to the concept of the opposite forces and creating that tension and also that dynamic balance. So when it comes to masculine and feminine energies, when you have a look at the positives in these unique characteristics, the goal is that you'll be able to flow between, and if you're in a relationship, you're able to keep that attraction, tension, as well as create that balance and harmony. So, for instance, polarity in regards to somebody in the relationship being in the light feminine, being able to be playful and receptive and able to surrender, whilst somebody in the relationship is able to be in that dark masculine, in being able to take the lead so that somebody can surrender. This is a really common problem in a lot of relationships. And this is where you may hear, too many women are in their masculine. I feel and have been able to sense that this is sort of where it happens. And when I get to the light and dark masculine, I'll be able to give you some more examples of that as well. But it's like the light feminine and the dark masculine. If we want more men to be down in their masculine, more women need to be able to go up into the feminine to be able to surrender. And so when we don't have that, we don't have polarity, and we end up being, if we're both trying to be in the dark masculine, taking the lead, making the decisions, we end up like this. And so we can end up fighting all the time. We can end up going into our unhealthy attachment styles. But we really want to be able to flow between and create that polarity in the relationships, the romantic relationships we're in. There's also the opposite to that, right? So there's also where there's a lot of women who need to be or are in their dark feminine in the healthy ways. And that's great. It's creativity. It's where we're intuitive. We're able to get what we want. But also we need the male to be able to go into that holding space and that caretaker mode so that we can create. However, if we don't have that polarity, if we are in, as the female, if we're in the dark masculine and we've got the male is in the light masculine, things can get really, really boring and can get burnt out because somebody's trying to hold the space and someone's trying to take the lead, and nothing's getting done. Sorry, nobody's actually no one's surrendering. So when you can see polarity in relationships on screen, you've got things like in the Titanic, you've got people like Beauty and the Beast is a perfect one, and The Notebook, where they can float, or in the characters, you can see as they develop, you can see as they start to move through those different energy types and how that shows up in their relationship long term. Even like, so with David and Victoria Beckham, how they have a prominent type of energy that they sit in, but they're also able to go between them all. And I think the Netflix show or documentary shows that in a bit more detail about how you can see beyond the perception that you may have had to start with. You can start to see those energies play out differently. And also in even like teenage relationships, you can start to see how, as they've grown up together, you see how that relationship and those dynamics change within that character set and the arc of each character individually. So also, the opposite to polarity is neutrality. And this is where things or relationships can feel like they die down and the chemistry goes away. It's because you need that polarity for that strong attraction, for that dynamic tension. And so individuals or relationships in a neutral state get really, really less vibrant. There's not really much going on. So if we think about relationships in the light feminine, the light masculine, it can be really boring because it's almost like no one's willing to make a decision. No one's willing to make a choice. And so when we speak into women, especially who want to be in the light feminine, they really want it. They want a male or somebody to take the lead. They want to be able to receive. However, a lot of men are scared or cannot go down in their previous experiences to the dark masculine. So you've also got a lot of men stuck in the light masculine. And so it's almost like, who's going to take the lead? And one of those energies has to do it. And whether that's the female goes down to the dark feminine or the dark masculine shows up, whatever it is, somebody needs to go, because this is just neutral and it's freaking boring. And if you can think about some of the relationships or characters that you've seen that play out in, it's like, why can't I just love the nice guy? Why can't I just, he's so lovely and he looks after me and blah, 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 blah. And it's because you need that tension. And so Carrie Bradshaw and Adrian in Sex and the City, like, he's such a nice guy, but then there was no polarity there. You've also got that with Rachel and Ross in Friends. For so long, there was that neutrality playing out. But as they grew, their character arcs, as they grew up, they started to be able to move themselves within their own energies, which meant that they could start to create that polarity happening as well. Then you've got, if you've got both people in the relationship being in the dark feminine, the dark masculine, you just have this fighting. You've got people seducting each other. You've got people controlling each other. You've got people wanting to make decision, and nobody willing to surrender or to hold that space. And so it ends up with a lot of butting heads and a lot of fighting and toxicity playing out. So that can be in relationships like Chris Brown and Rihanna and the domestic violence that happened there, and the addictions that happened with Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, and in characters like in Gossip Girl, and in Game of Thrones, and even in the House of Cards, which with those relationships playing out. So when you've got both people in the relationship playing down in the dark there, it can be really, really negative. So then I'm going to use some other examples, as in relationships with people who are in friendships. So you've got the light feminine and the dark feminine, and you've got people being in toxic relationships where people are using each other. That can play out in relationships like best friends, and Mean Girls is a really big example of that. It can also happen with a lot of mother-daughters. And you can also see in the light and the dark masculine where you've got that playing out in different relationships, sort of like Steve Jobs and Wozniak in Apple, and how those business relationships play out. It can be where somebody feels like they're always taking the lead, and somebody always feels like they're being used and they don't want to say anything about it. So speaking into that, I'll go into more about the importance of that internal polarity and some steps you can take moving forward. So the importance of balancing that internal polarity that I was speaking about is, integration. Embracing both of those energies allows us to become more well-rounded, to be able to flow between both the masculine energy of decisiveness with the intuition that comes with the feminine energy. This can really lead to better decision making. We've also got about the self-awareness. The more self-aware you can be, the more success you can have in life. So understanding your own internal polarity helps you recognize the areas where you may be out of balance and where you may need to focus on growth, or just adjust some of the things that you've been doing to really get that flow back into the swing of things. Your emotional intelligence, so balancing the feminine empathy with masculine logic, can really enhance your emotional intelligence. And this allows you to understand and manage your emotions better, and your resilience. So combining that strength that comes with the masculine and the flexibility that comes with the feminine can help make you a more resilient human in the face of challenges. Interpersonal relationships, so your communication, being able to balance the assertiveness and putting boundaries in place with the masculine energy, as well as the empathy to hold how other people may be feeling. And when you improve those, your communication with and connection with others can improve at the same time. And the conflict resolution, so integrating masculine problem-solving skills with the compassion that comes in the feminine, can really lead to more effective and harmonious conflict resolution in your relationships, whether it's personal or at work. Your creativity and productivity, when it comes to innovation, the feminine creativity and intuition can inspire new ideas and innovation, while your masculine need for structure and to take action can help bring those ideas to fruition. And the focus that comes, the focus in the feminine flow and the masculine focus, can really help bring that productivity up without burning out, which is super, super important in this day and age. Some of the practical steps to balance that internal polarity includes identifying your dominant energy. So reflect on which energy you naturally embody more. Are you more action orientated, the doing, or are you more nurturing and intuitive and being? Are you acknowledging the imbalances that you may have and where you may be out of balance? For example, you may be too rigid, i.e. too much in the masculine, or too passive in the feminine. This is really important to understand how you can take action moving forward. You're then also able to cultivate the opposite traits. So once you know which one you're in more so, you can look at the opposite and actually start to cultivate those traits. So if you're developing more masculine traits, you can lean into the feminine energy and work on your traits like, empathy, receptivity, creativity. And if it's the opposite, you can lean into the energy of making more decisions and assertiveness and taking action. Some of the things that you can do to, I guess, become aware of what this energy looks like for you is things like mindfulness practices, meditation. Those things can really help you come into alignment and see how you're influenced by your thoughts and actions. And visualization can also help. So you can visualize scenarios where you successfully integrate both energies and imagine how you would make that decision better, using both logic and intuition, the masculine and feminine, the doing and the being. That can really help you problem solve and see what's possible for you with that integration. And another suggestion is to engage in diverse activities. So, some masculine activities might be things like setting goals, engaging in physical challenges, or practicing assertiveness with people around you. And in the feminine, it might be things like creative arts, nurturing relationships, practicing more mindfulness and relaxation, dancing, those sort of things. This can help you explore what that energy means for you. And the goal is to seek that balance, right? That harmony. And it may be different. It's not about being 50-50 in each one. It's whatever suits you and that flow. So looking at the work and the rest for you, balancing your drive for achievement with periods of rest and rejuvenation. And also that structured flexibility, creating routines that incorporate both the structure and the flexibility allows for both that productivity and spontaneity that gives the depth, magic, and color for the life that you want to lead. So that is the video on masculine and feminine energy. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments or reach out. But I hope this helps you make more sense of what it means when we talk about masculine, feminine, doing, being, the yin and the yang, and why we all need it, and also how it influences the relationships that we're in. Thank you for being here.